out.
Look at that.
Well, maybe Brandon will find a minute for you to kind of update people on it, Carrie.
Oh, it's still going on, but sure.
Well, that
We're
is
going to inform people on, Carrie. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during the break, I was telling Brandon that I've been attending Jeff Schwartz's GLOAT conference, which is available virtually to anybody that goes to their site. I'm a CMO that often works with earlier stage companies, and so I know how hard it is to put on a conference that looks great. And as a very young company, they are doing an amazing job. They've got very high level speakers. They had the head of human capital this morning from Goldman Sachs. They had the head of HR from MetLife yesterday. I mean, they're talking about issues that anybody on this call will immediately recognize. And I don't know who's in their room, but it's a very high quality conference. Jeff is doing most of the moderation, which is tons of work. And so you might check out the agenda and pop into sessions that are interesting to you over there.
Thanks, Carrie.
Yep.
Could you put the link in the chat? I'm not sure what that is. I'd love to download.
Yeah, I'll find it. Hang on.
Thank you.
Carrie, it ends soon, but I think if you sign up for it, you can. I'm on it as well, but I think you can get the recordings.
Carrie, I know GLOAT is more of, or at least their fundamental roots are an internal marketplace. And unfortunately, these two have become their own silos. GLOAT, Profinder, all of these are like, we'll only focus on FTEs, and we have all of our external marketplace. We only focus on external non-employees. Are they actually talking about bringing both together, like fundamentally, or is it just, oh, you're cute, but we don't really care about you?
Well, they've had, so in the CHRO session, they talked about what was necessary in terms of organizational change to get this to happen in their organization. They did an overview of the product. I'm not recognizing exactly what you just mentioned as having come up in any of the sessions that I've seen, but I've not been in every single one because I've in and out based on my own meeting schedule.
I mean, simple GLOAT, Profinder are all about connecting your own staff to other opportunities within the company.
Yes.
Our freelancing marketplace are all about connecting those opportunities to external freelancers, and these two have been two different silos this year.
Right, and I haven't heard anybody talk about exactly that. They've been talking a lot about org change.
Okay.
Novartis had something on one of their slides that it was aspirational to look at with the external use too.
That's awesome.
Cool. We always like to start if we've got some people who are new to the community, want to give themselves a quick 30-second introduction. Raise your hand up virtually, and Brandon will pull you up.
Anybody new on the call? Barbara?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm new. So this is my first call. I'm based here in Singapore, so it's a little bit late, so that's why my camera is off. Sorry about that. I work at a startup called Doer Circle, and what we've done so far is create a community with solutions and benefits for freelancers. But what I'm looking into right now is really how to extend that offering to corporates. So how can we help them attract and retain flexible talent? And the idea right now is to give them a platform, an end-to-end platform to manage the complete life cycle of the extended workforce. So really from sourcing, but mostly also onboarding, management, and payment. I'll put my LinkedIn into the chat. So if anyone's keen, happy to have a chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else new to the call want to say a few things? Natalia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natalia, based in Germany, and I do work at freelancermap.com, which is an international, German-focused IT freelancing platform. We have been in the market for a while, but we are trying to be better. And until now, it was really focused on a kind of a job board. and we would like to really be more helpful to freelancers. So hopefully I will learn a lot, and maybe someone can also learn something from us. Thank you, everybody. I will leave my LinkedIn as well in case someone wants to connect.
Welcome. Anybody else? All right.
All
I
right,
think we're good.
let's dig in. We've got some fun things going on in the market. I think before we jump into the trusted platform partner, just want to take a minute if there's other things, like I know that the whole Gloat Live piece that came up was there. I think Nelly, you had an event that's going on as well that you wanted to bring up.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be part of this community. I'd like to invite you all to a very special event I'm organizing. 4 reasons to join. First, to celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Day with us. Yes, it's a real holiday, and it is celebrated in 144 countries around the world each November. 2, to help women entrepreneurs around the world. The Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization funds female-owned businesses, and we know that helping women financially means elevating their families and communities. 3, learn about Web3, Metaverse, blockchain from lineup of amazing speakers. This year, our focus is on these new technologies, and for the first time ever, we're celebrating in the Metaverse. This initiative is just the beginning. The ultimate goal is to bring more women to these new technologies. I strongly believe that we need more diversity in general and more women at the table to build a better, safer, more inclusive, and more equitable Web3 and Metaverse space. And 4, if nothing else sounds enticing, just come for the dance party at the end. Don't worry, the avatars will be doing all the dancing, so no dance moves required from you. Please connect with me if you would like to help or to sponsor, or register at the link I'm going to provide in the chat. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Nelly. Always good to hear if there are different events going on. Hey, Link, I just kind of reach out. I know we haven't talked about advocacy and all the work that you and your team have been doing on the last couple of calls. So anything you want to bring up to kind of bring the group as a whole up to speed on all the work that's been going on?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great month there. The freelance business month really kicked off and did a great job. So I presented 2 talks in there among some of the great leaders in this room. And so 20 things that every freelancer should know getting started. So just keys and tips, and, you know, get your own bank account, a separate bank account. And then here's the tip over here. And so I pulled out the 20 best and gave a little workshop, and then talked about the future of advocacy and what we're looking at in the future of work. And, you know, that it's not just about gender and LGBT identities and race anymore. It's about differences in advocacy related to economics, geography, and all the things that, like social determinants of health, but social determinants of work. You know, what are all the impacts out there that really impact workers and prevent them from leveraging this full time? And some of the findings that came out from some of the talks we saw was that, you know, freelancers, the majority of freelancers are not making it full time and are making less than what they need to live on. But we love this work in this field. And so the number of freelancers and entrepreneurs is growing, and people are trying to figure out how to navigate this world. And so now, as we kind of move out of this, the world of kind of creation, how do we make it happen? Now we know how to make those things happen, and it's impacting people's lives for the future. And so we're really looking at the worker kind of case and the worker story. And so if you're interested in that conversation, it changes every month. We have a conversation like this on every 3rd Tuesday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern at noon for lunch. So if you'd like to join us for a really keyed up conversation on the advocacy of the worker, we'd love to have you. There's a lot of amazing things happening, both good and bad, that impact workers. And if you're interested in the worker side, we'd love to have you. So thank you. Thank you, John.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, usually we spend a lot of time in these calls talking about some of the different research that's been put out in the marketplace. And we've talked about this effort to really drive adoption. And so we're really excited today, particularly Jon Younger and I, to help everyone understand about this trusted partner platform survey that we're putting out into the market. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to kind of pull up the screen and we'll show you a little bit about what we have and what's going to be coming into the marketplace. So hopefully you guys can see that on the screen right now. Very straightforward for all of us in what we're doing. It's being created to provide the freelance marketplaces with a powerful way to establish and publicize the trusting relationship they've established with their clients, and then really to get that objective feedback on a quantitative and comparable way, so that regardless of the size and structure of your platform, where you're operating in the marketplace, we can start bringing things together in a more consistent and standardized way. And we've talked from the beginning of this community being formed about the importance of standards and the importance of organizations and individuals being able to figure out which platform is right for me. And so we spent a lot of time just trying to figure out what is the right way to work through this. And a shout out to Brian Pena, who has worked on the accreditation program, which is a much more detailed process with both qualitative and quantitative research. And the team at Wazuka went through. It was the first organization to be accredited by CTW. And we've got others that are going through that process actively right now. But we also wanted to have something that can provide a quick view of feedback and something consistent. And so we're really excited to bring this on. Open Assembly, who's our parent organization, and the Lab for Innovation Sciences at Harvard, who's been here and with us since the beginning, have signed on as our title sponsors. So we're really excited about that. I'm seeing Barry Matthews, you're on the line from Open Assembly. Anything you want to just note in terms of the value of why this is important to you guys?
No, thanks, John. Yeah, I'm excited to get this started. I think if so we work with enterprises, so big businesses typically representing talent platforms and celebrating the talent platform industry. And what we find with the big enterprises we work with, it's just confusing to them to understand which platform to work with for what. And so anything that standardizes or makes it comparable to be able to track quality, anything that's like a kite mark which says this platform has passed these tests and meets our standards, it's got to be good for the industry as a whole. And of course, just listening to the platform's customers is so important, right? We all focus on customer experience, and having a voice of the customer, being able to report on that and to understand that, it's got to be good for all of us, because as we get their feedback, we'll be able to improve and change things for the benefit of the industry. So great that you guys have led this. So thank you to you and John and the whole team, and excited to get it started.
Excellent. Thanks for the feedback. And we're going to walk you through some more detail. I'm going to let John kind of walk into some things. This will be available on the CTW website, so you go through it. I'm going to take you right through all the FAQs, but there's good information in terms of helping people understand why it's so important to take this in. At a very simple level, this is a 10-minute survey. And John will take you through the questions. Real simple. We need to get that first wave of feedback. We're kind of considering this a beta period as we go through to get people engaged into it. And the exciting part is, people will get the badge. So we'll start seeing on platforms' websites recognition that they've been acknowledged as a trusted platform partner to enterprises. And that will start to, we hope, give more and more organizations a sense of confidence of who to reach out to and who to engage and to bring into this. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to kind of turn it over to Jon Younger and encourage Jon to maybe talk to you a little bit about how we came about with this survey. What are the questions? What are we going through? And what reaction have you got? Because you've spent a lot of time talking to both enterprises and platforms to kind of secure their comfort in what we're doing.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, John. This is a passion project for me. Those of you that know me a little bit or have had a chance to listen to me speak, or I've interviewed you, or I've written about you, or I've just enjoyed being in the same room with you. What you probably know about me is that I have two areas of priority in the latter days of my career, which it is. And the first of those is to help democratize the opportunity that's provided to individuals around the world through freelancing and the ability to disconnect our lot in life from the geography that we happen to be born in, the family we happen to be born in, etc. So part of my dream is to do a little bit to help create greater opportunity for individuals around the world who could use it. But the second is to also create greater opportunity for you wonderful people who are creating these platforms to give individuals that chance. And one of the things that is absolutely true is that of the 1,000 platforms that currently are in beta or operating now, 25 or 30 probably don't need this, but 970 do, because they're young and they're scrappy, and they need some way to break through the din, break through the noise, and feel, as John said, feel the confidence to go out there and compete. You know, if you've got 20 million members and if you've got $1 billion valuation, you probably don't need this, though you could benefit from it. But if you're small and young and scrappy and you're looking to establish a brand within your home country or in your home region, nice to have a badge that says you're good according to your clients. And that's what this is about. I want to take a step back and say that there's a whole bunch of people who have been part of this, in addition to John and myself. First among them is Brandon. Brandon is the unsung hero of almost everything that happens in Open Assembly. So I'll just add that to the list now. Brian Penny, you were the first to try to make some noise around this. Your work continues, but yours is at a level of depth that is probably uneconomic. We're not ready for it as a large community. We just can't dig that deep yet, but we can take 2 levels, which is what we're trying to do here, and learn from your experience and your wisdom. We had a bunch of people that helped us around this. The guys at Expert Powerhouse, Christian and David Cooper and Christian Moldenhauer, Karina Rahabia of Olo, Brian again, Albert at Underpinned, Matt of Human Cloud, and every other thing that has something to do with the freelance community. Matt Mazzolo is our extraordinary individual, and all of these folks helped in building this. And what we wanted to do at the final, in the final kind of sense of it all, is we want to help this community to professionalize while not bureaucratize. We have to professionalize to grow. But we don't have to lose that sort of pioneer spirit that's created this incredible $20 billion industry, producing $1.3 trillion of value in the world. So we hope that TP3, Trusted Talent Platform Partners survey, will, in the final analysis, just help young, small platforms that do great work but lack budget or lack history to earn that badge and show their clients what others of their clients think of them. And that is a powerful thing, whether you're Anna in Outvies in Spain, or you're Caroline in Syria, or you're Rich in Glasgow. So when we interviewed a whole bunch of people about this, what we asked was, what does it have to be? And I'm going to show it to you in a sec, but here's the basics that people said was important. 1, that it provides good demographics so that over time we're able to become insightful around it. It's not just a badge, but it's also a source of insight and wisdom around what we can do as a community and what we can do as individual platforms to get better through those data, because we will grow this database and it will become interesting. Second, people wanted it to be informative, but at the same time brief. And what you'll hear from John is that it will take less than 10 minutes for one of your clients to fill this out. Third, it will be easy for them to fill it out. This is not fancy survey stuff. These are basic statements that we've tested again and again, and people resonate. They're written in the language of the people, if I may put it that way. We're going to protect the confidentiality of the data. We're going to make it cheap. At this point, I want to thank Barry Matthews for a very short period of time. He's covering the bills on this. Thank you very much, Barry, for covering the bills on this, but he's not going to carry on forever. So we're going to have to find a way to figure out how to fund this. And then finally, we want you all to participate in this. And with that in mind, I'm just going to show you the 13 questions. And that is here. So the question is, you go to one of your clients, you ask them to come to our website on the CTW, where they'll indicate where they're filling it out, and we're gonna ask them a few demographic questions, and then we're gonna go into the 13 questions that comprise this survey. And I'll just read it very quickly. Please rate your trust from 1 to 9, where 1 is low trust, 9 is high trust, and there's a midpoint, on the following 13 items. 1, does this platform respond promptly to inquiries? Does it have a strong bench with the expertise and experience you're looking for? Do they make it relatively easy to select and access talent? Are their cost, fees, and terms fair and reasonable? Are they reasonably flexible and helpful when change is required? Are freelancers generally available to begin work with only reasonable delays? Is contracting relatively easy and painless? Are the platform staff and talent do they keep their commitments? Do they operate ethically and professionally, and have they earned my trust? Do they provide sufficient data privacy and data security? I feel my data are safe. Do they work well with clients like me? Do they understand our culture and needs? And are they interested in my feedback and suggestions for improvement? And then, of course, the promoter score at the end. Would you recommend this platform to colleagues looking for a trusted platform partner? 12 very, very general but relevant questions, and then the overall summary. And that's, folks, what it looks like. We will be ready in the next month to begin to roll this out in a meaningful way, and John is going to talk about that. But I urge you to join us. I urge you to be part of this effort to professionalize our industry without bureaucratizing our industry, if I may put it like that. And with that, John, I turn it back over to you.
You're on mute, John.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Thank you, John, for walking through that. And I think one of the important things that John brought up was the concept of confidentiality. So the way that this will be distributed for people is that each of the platforms will send a link out to their customers. So we're not asking people for the names of who their customers are. We understand that that's a point of concern and anxiety in the marketplace. But we'll be able to provide the individual companies, the platforms that do participate in it, the cumulative survey information. So not from an individual customer to know exactly what that one company had to say, but the cumulative roll-up. And so even as you go into the website, you'll see as we get into it, there's a sample report that will be there for someone to get, and each participant. So if I'm from a customer and I'm filling out the survey, I'll get a printout of my results so that I have that and available and understand what it is. And if I want to choose to review that with my platform partner, I can certainly do that and talk to them about it and tell them how and why I answered. But then that platform organization will see the collective results of what was received across the community as a whole, their organization specifically, and start walking through that in detail so that people have a real sense of where do I fit? And the idea of being able to walk out of this with an understanding of where their strength and there are areas to focus on and improving, that's what we're going to key towards. So we're encouraging all of the platforms to provide 10 companies, 10 customers to respond so that we get a sense of critical mass, that we're not just getting one organization who's saying something's great. And then we're going to continue to refine and work our way through this as we go forward. So this is one of those examples where we don't want perfection to get in the way of good enough and what's really important today. And this is what we've heard from enterprises that they need. They need to know who is trusted by their peers. And what we hear from platforms, we need people to know that I'm a safe partner to be working with, and that I have a good reputation. If we can get through that, our sense is we can raise the tide for everybody in here. We start down this path of having common measurement. We'd think that a next phase of this starts looking at how we're getting survey information from individual workers as well. Are you trusted by the workforce, not just by the end client, and making sure that we have a sense of what's there. We probably at some point want to also get a sense of how the customers are viewed. So the end client may have a good brand reputation for their product, but how do they treat freelancers that come into their marketplace? Do they understand how to engage them into the team? Do they understand how to make that person feel confident and comfortable in executing their work? And are they recognized properly? So we have a lot more that we want to go through, but this was the first part that was important. And I saw in the chat earlier from Balaji, the question of, is CTW going to promote this? We absolutely are going to promote this. And get it out to enterprise customers, get it out to the platform marketplace, get it out to the media in general, to make sure that people understand that there is a way to get this information and the value of having this information collected by a third party, having it stored confidentially so that people can get a sense of what's there and can trust participating. So, in the site, and when you go out to the CTW website, you'll be able to get to this. So we've had it hidden behind the scenes, and Brandon's going to make it available so we can all get out there and see it. But if there are questions, I am happy personally to talk to any platform company that has a concern or a question about it, wants to understand something more. Again, we're going to learn in this first wave of it. John and I have been really candid about this, but flat out call to each of you and to any of the platforms that you work with or have engaged with to encourage them to participate. The more participation we have, the stronger the value of the badge and the recognition. So we've tried to answer a lot of the questions with an FAQ. I will assure you that there are more questions that maybe we haven't answered, and we're wide open to them to get a sense. So we try to cover what the goal is and why people should participate. We thought about breaking down different categories and am I trusted at an enterprise level or as a startup or emerging? We're just not ready for that. What we found is that through the dialogue and the conversations with folks, sometimes we want all the detail, but maybe we're just not ready for it. And so we need to begin with that simple piece that we know people will participate in, they'll respond to, and we'll begin gathering that information. And then we can start drilling into the next layer of detail along the way. And we see the reference to the marketing side of things. Again, establishing the criteria that we're going to work through is going to be based on the scoring. We've got to see how that comes in. Will there be some platforms that don't get recognized as a trusted partner? Yeah. I hope not. I'd love it if everyone was universally trusted, but that's an unrealistic expectation. But certainly, we're not giving out a badge for an untrusted partner. We're going to give out the badge to recognize those who are trusted and work with those who aren't to make sure we understand, okay, how do we close the gaps? And if that means that we can pair people up and help mentor someone who is trying to emerge and grow into a market, then let's do that. That's what we have been as a community, as people who are all supporting each other for a common goal right now. And that's what we're after. We absolutely want people to use the designation to help them grow their business. There's no question. One survey, 10 minutes, once a year. That's what we envision for the customers. So we're trying to be realistic in setting the expectations. There was a question, is there an appeal process? Not really. Your customer provides feedback about you. It is subjective. This is not objective, qualitative details and numbers and scoring on your revenue or on your average project size. This is their feeling and a sentiment about how do I get in here. And if I take that back to even the book that John Windsor's working on and the start of this, the concept of the network mindset and getting into the frame of mind of engaging into these marketplaces, that's what we want to kind of capture. So from a change management perspective, we're getting a sense of where is their trust, where is their confidence that I can move in here to help someone overcome that initial barrier or fear of doing something different. How do we work our way through that to get it done? We see the question about confidentiality. I think we've tried to raise that a couple times. I am happy to dive into that any further. Again, that's why what we've chosen to do is rather than having everyone come directly to the site and put things in, we're going to give a dedicated URL to each of the platform partners who choose to participate that you send out to your customers. And we'll get a sense, and we can tell you that we've had 5 people respond. If you sent it out to 50, I don't know who the other 45 are who haven't responded. I won't know that information. But we'll be able to let you know that we've had X number of people respond from the URL that you created along the way. You see that they'll receive the copy of that report right away. And then we're going to kind of work our way through everything in here. We encourage, the question of what client roles are appropriate, whoever's using your services. I don't care if that's an HR person or it's a line manager from the marketing department or a project manager in the IT organization. We want the people who are using your services, and you decide who those people are. John's referenced, we've got our 2 title sponsors who are covering the cost of this. Initially, we think at some point, we've got to look at a different economic model to go through it, whether that's sponsorship or it's having people pay individually to go through it. We're going to figure that out. We don't have that answer right now. And that's why we looked to the sponsors and said, do you recognize this as something important in the market? And is this worthwhile getting started? And we'll figure out the funding mechanism to go forward. And we got that sense of confidence. I think John's been clear, global in scope, don't care where you are. And particularly for the small and the mid-sized platforms who are fighting to become viewed as a partner to enterprises. Those are people that we absolutely want to get into. And apologies as we say global and then tell you that we're only going to issue it in English language. We recognize that as a flaw, but that's a gap that we're just going to kind of work our way through. Mark Anand, I'm seeing a question.
Yeah, great stuff. So something that we've been hearing about for a little while. So it's wonderful to see it and for you to have it ready to launch. And I wish you the best of luck with it. I have 2 questions. Well, I had 3, but you answered one of them. The first one, what's the definition of a platform? The second is, what do you have to score in order to get the badge? And the third one was, how many respondents? You've said 10 customers. What happens if you get 9? Do you qualify if only 5 of them respond? So what's a platform? What do you have to do to get the badge? And how many respondents do you need?
Yeah. So let's start with what's a platform. We're looking at platforms as online marketplaces that are delivering access to talent and connecting people with work. And there is a broad, extent that can run. So it could be a crowdsourcing platform that's doing it. It could be someone who's providing staff augmentation services or strictly gig related activity. So we're not limiting ourselves to say platform style A, B, or C. We're gathering a little sense of that demographically up front so that we can organize it and understand where that information is. But if you are delivering your services electronically and those services are related to connecting people with work, we want you to be participating. So that's our start on the defining the platform.
Can I jump in for 1 second, John, around that? And that is, Mark, outside of this meeting, I'd love to follow up with you, and I'm sure John would as well, to get some sense of what you see on the margin. Because if we can work the marginal stuff, that'll help. So I'm very interested in following up and talking with you about what you see as sort of inside, but then possibly outside.
And I would even tell you, Mark, somewhere down the road, there's a whole piece on the related services. So, you know, the organization who provides banking services designed for the freelancer community. At some point, we would think they need to be there, but that's maybe not the first segment that we're targeting. We're targeting specifically those who are providing access to the workforce.
And that have clients.
Yep. Cool. As it relates to the number of respondents, so we're targeting 10. Do we think we're going to get 10 everywhere? No, we're going to have some people who get less. I think that's something that we have to look at. We don't have a hard answer to you of exactly what that number is and what your average rating needs to be to qualify. I think that's one of those pieces that we have to begin looking at. What is coming in? What kind of volume is there? If 90% of our respondents have 8 people responding, I'm going to feel probably more confident using 8 as a number that we're targeting versus 10. And then if you know, our average score is very low, then that's going to raise another concern and caution flag. That's why we're launching this kind of in the beta. We're at the end of this year. We want to get as many people as we can through it in 2022. And then look to see how we need to refine the survey as we go into 2023. Link.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's, I've been watching the chat too, and you know, I think it's important to understand that this is the first time. So always the first time with a survey is to check things out. What is the kind of trends happening out there? What we don't yet know what the best platform is out there and what is all being done right, but we have a pretty good idea with all the trends and having our finger on the pulse for the last 4, 5+ years. Some of these leaders in this room for over 20. And so we at least have that firsthand knowledge. And this is the first time we're going to assess really what's a good platform. And I think from there, then we have a metric to then move forward, implement better survey questions, better, you know, improve the metrics, you know. So CTW has an opportunity of leading this by at least being the first to examine all of what is the best out there. So what would make it most significant is not just to look at 10, but all of you out there, our community, to share the survey with your networks to get everyone to participate, whether they think they are good or a bad platform. You know, because I think a lot of platforms don't want to be told, hey, we're doing it wrong. I think what is really needed is platforms and platform leaders want to say, we want to actually do it right. So this will help us as CTW decide and show what is being done right out there, what are the trends, and what you can do as platforms to improve over time. All the while, CTW will be improving on our methods of surveys, what we're collecting, and trying to get the most number of platforms just to participate in the survey at all, so that we can actually say what is a good platform and what's being done best out there. So just my 2 cents on that to kind of help alleviate from the advocacy side that, believe me, we got our finger on the pulse.
Cool. I'm gonna just try to walk through some of the questions I'm seeing in the chat and see if I can answer those as we go in, but certainly speak up if you've got other questions that are out there. Sujit, the freebie will be available through the end of the year, and we'll figure out where we go past that, but encourage participation there. Todd, we would welcome any input. If you want to reach out to Jon Younger directly, if you have concerns on any of the survey questions, we're happy to look at it. It has not gone live out to anyone yet, but we certainly don't want to have bias mixed in there. Balaji, I would say, yeah, TopTal, absolutely. It is a platform in the marketplace. They represent themselves digitally. A lot of staffing firms have electronic and platform-based services that they bring to bear as well. So yes, we'd welcome that along the way as well. And again, based on who we have participate will also influence how we market it out to people after, because we can say the scope of participants range from A to Z or from A to C if it becomes very narrow in terms of who is responding. So we certainly want to look at that. What kind of guideline for cloud security was required to get the badge? Again, it's a sense of trust. What we know is that different clients are going to have different views. So again, if we were to look down the road and say we wanted to rate exclusively for large enterprise businesses, that their data security requirements are going to be radically different than for a small startup. It's also going to be radically different if I'm getting a service that is a logo that never requires access to any of my systems than if it's to go in and do data analysis on my live production data. So again, this is subjective and it's the view of the client and the platform. Do I trust the data security? Do I trust that my data are secure? That's all we're asking at this point. So there's not a level that we're saying, are you SAS 70 Type 2 certified? That's part of the accreditation process that Brian Pena has taken some organizations through. That's where we're getting into more structural detail of what's there. Sometimes clients are too busy to leave reviews, so it might be challenging to get 10. Absolutely, Anna, we recognize that. That's why we want to try to encourage it, encourage people to even send out more if they need to along the way. Continuing as I go through, as I keep looking at the rest of the questions in there, Balaji, you always are someone who likes to add some comments or challenge. Anything that you're looking at that either raises a concern, gives you a sense of encouragement. I think of Deloitte as an organization that uses a lot of different partners and has a pretty extensive sourcing and onboarding process to go through the vetting. How do you see something like this supporting your process or easing your process?
A couple of things. I mean, if you take an enterprise like us as a starting point, and I'm like, I want to provide feedback to 15 companies that I use. I don't use the word platform because it's funky. A good account manager that you're working with obviates the need for a platform oftentimes. So I don't want to use that term. So if there's a way that we can start to say, I want to provide feedback on 15 because, you know, I'm on vacation and I don't like my family, you should allow me to do that as well. And I think the one thing that you just have to consider is there is no one voice in a company for a client, for a company. Different parts of the company have different experiences based on their skills, based on their needs. So it's considering that complexity is important, just like marketplaces and platforms and companies are different. The use cases within the company are different. So in your Word document, understanding the context of where and how this feedback is being provided is important. Just so that then if you get, I would also assume that, you know, you'll get multiple points within the same company. So you can be a lot more nuanced in exactly as John, you said, you know, if it is a logo development, should be thought of differently as compared to a data scientist working for 6 months. Absolutely. So understanding that, asking a few contextual questions up front, then nuances the bottom differently.
And we do. We do.
Yeah, so that demographic stuff is important for us to understand where it's coming in. If we find that we have exceptional trust from the procurement functions and zero trust from the HR functions, that tells us something. We don't know what that is. Do we have a different level of trust from line management than we do from executive management? We don't know those answers right now. And to the point that you raised in there, and to some of the questions that have surfaced about, you know, how many people are responding. Yes, I don't care if there are 6 responses from the same customer. If you've got multiple clients that are providing input and feedback, because then we can get it from different parts of that organization in a sense for it. So again, this is wave one of gathering the information, and the combination of how the questions are answered and the demographics of who's answering, who's responding, starts telling us how to refine this information and make it more valuable. And again, as we can share collective results with this group, we can start getting some more challenges on how we make this better and more effective and more usable, more beneficial to all who participate going forward.
And the, the function of this is more data, right? Is this network effect is more important, right? Which is, even if, let's say, one platform sends me that survey, I should have the opportunity to say, I would like to provide feedback on 5 other platforms.
Yep.
So it becomes more of a network effect.
So here's the interesting piece we're going to give you on this, and this came from talking with people. There will be a drop-down list of all the platforms who are participating, so that we can make sure we're getting the correct information on each one. We don't want top coder, tal mix, torque, and touring all to get the same thing. So they will be listed individually if they're participating in it. We are not doing a drop-down list of the companies,
right?
Because we had a degree of concern from many of the platforms who said, I don't want people to be able to go in and poach which companies are using services and try to figure out who they are. So that was a point of anxiety. So the drop-down list, candidly, can be very easy. It comes from the directory that Tom Matthews has built. So we have everything that's in there. So that's good. And linked to the question you just sent of is the survey free? Yes, free to participate for everyone involved right now.
Thank you. I want to add one other piece, and I'm just going to respond to Rhonda Lehman Davenport's question, and that is, Rhonda, right now we're just getting started. We wanted to make sure that people would be willing to support it and willing to provide it and willing to complete it. And so we wanted a very few questions that were at the heart of the issue of, is this a trusted partner? We're going to do all kinds of things in the future with your help, with your support, with your suggestions. But we wanted to get Monday morning right. And that's really where it's at now. I think that what you'll find is that in year 2 and year 3 and year 4, as you participate on multiple occasions and as others join and participate, we're going to begin to develop a database that will be enormously helpful to each of you who are participating, because it'll not only give you some feedback on you specifically, but relative to others. Yep. And so it'll give you some sense of what you might want to work on as you improve. So it's not just a badge that says you're okay. It's also a learning experience over a number of years that you're subscribing to. I'm sorry, John, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I've had a couple questions come in direct that are around, what's the risk of CTW putting a badge on someone? CTW is not rating the individual platform. Their customers are rating them, and we'll be very clear with that. CTW doing the accreditation of a platform is something different. That's CTW going in and saying they have met these criteria, and there will be challenges that will come out of that. And CTW will need to be able to mitigate and have a problem or a dispute resolution process when someone has made a claim and we've come in. This is very, again, subjective of trust in the relationship between the client and the platform. And so that's all we're measuring. So we are comfortable there. I see comments about the whole ESG and the diversity practices. That would be another thing that I would put into the accreditation piece right now. Wave 1 is again on the trust, but I think that if you're doing a survey from the worker side of the platform, do they respect diversity? Are they inclusive? Are types of questions that would want to start thinking about where that comes in. And I think that's really, really beneficial from the worker. And candidly, it would also come up on the end client as well. Does this client respect me as an independent worker? Do they respect me as a remote worker and how I'm operating? So again, some of the things
John,
that we
just
can dive into.
One,
Go ahead.
the reason I think connecting it to something like it is like, what is the incentive for the client to provide this feedback, right? What do they get in return? If you don't have that incentive clearly connected, then you're leaving it on some individual's availability of time or some other reason, versus typically benchmarking surveys provide something in aggregate in return back to the user to say, we're going to give you a report of all the platforms, the ones that you rated, and the rating of the vendor that you're using across other clients. Or you have to say you should be able to use the output of this for something strategic that you're doing within the company. That incentive has to be thought through, otherwise you don't get that much response rate.
Yes and no, Todd, I'm not doing Starbucks gift cards. Very good. Take the feedback, welcome the feedback. Thank you. And that's the stuff, that's why we wanted to do this introduction to everyone before we put it out into the marketplace. So John and I will kind of regroup and do some tweaking as we go. Many of you who are on the call have already said yes, raised their hand and said, John, get me on that list. I want to go out. If there are others who want to, again, it's a call to participation. Please feel free to reach out to myself directly, reach out to Brandon, reach out to Jon Younger. If you want to participate, we're happy to get the link out to people right away. And Todd, we'll do a quick check-in with you if there are any questions in relation to the survey itself. We'll do that before we get it out. But just a shout out to everyone in the community who's been involved in helping us bring this together to this point, whether it's declaring the need, participating in the creation, challenging us along the way at the quality or the value of the questions that are there and the value proposition of it. So thank you everyone for your participation and your support as we go forward.
Great job, John.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great week.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all. Be well. Bye.
Good to see you all. Thank you.